Welcome, Level 7 data analysts. And it's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, ready to break down the season finale, episode 8 of Skeleton Crew on Disney+. As always, I am joined by my guy, my co-host, my poorly lit roomed friend, Damon Gray. How you doing? I can barely see you.
Talking poorly lit.
I can barely see you.
You look like most Disney Plus shows.
Oh my goodness. Oh
You
my
look
goodness.
great, though.
I'm
In
right
the darkness.
here.
In the darkness, you look
Is this
wonderful.
better? Is this slightly lighter?
That's better. That's better.
Oh,
I like
okay.
it. As long as I can see your face, I'm happy. Joining us as well, you know her. She's been around lots, from the Mary Sue, from the Collider, from Padro Pascal, and a billion other podcasts. Rachel Leishman, how you doing?
Doing great. Ready to talk about my favorite little Goonie kids.
We were already plotting the next type of podcast we can get going here in the future. And so Severance fans, get excited because that's coming out soon and we're going to be talking about it here on the Agents of Fandom podcast. Then we have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man coming at the end of the month. We have Invincible coming at the beginning of February. We have Captain America Brave New World coming mid-February. And wow, do we have some exciting stuff coming for that. By the way, interviews, giveaways, more. Stay tuned. Daredevil Born Again at the start of March. The Last of Us at the start of April. Andor at the end of April. Thunderbolts at the beginning of May. People, this is just going to be continuing to go for the entirety of 2025. So smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the great shows that we have planned. I mean, if you're listening to us in podcast form right now, we still love you. We absolutely love you. Leave us a 5-star review. But this next part's going to be a little bit tedious because here's what we're going to do. Look, everybody, if you're watching on your phone, I get it. Look, it takes 2 steps sometimes. If you're watching, if you're watching on your computer, it's 1 easy step. You take your mouse, you slide it over, you click the like button. If you watch it on your phone, it's 2 steps. It's tougher. Here's our video right here. Look, there we are. Hey, us. You got to click hide chat. You got to click hide chat first to see the like button, and then you can click it. It's an easy thing to do, and it helps us so much battle that YouTube algorithm. We appreciate you. Let's talk some Star Wars, and let's also talk about Whatcha Watchin, because it's been a while since we've talked. It's been a full week since we've gotten together for Skeleton Crew. Creature Commandos is done. What If is long gone. Damon, what have you been watching? What have you been reading? I know you've been playing Marvel Rivals. What else have you been doing?
Oh man, I feel like this is a big celebration of the culmination of what feels like a several month long episode bonanza of all these shows we've been doing with Creature Commandos. Feels like Agatha ended just like a week ago just because of all this, honestly, too, even though it was like Halloween, it was months ago, but it feels like yesterday. And this show and everything else, it's just been a lot. So you know how I celebrated watching my first movie of the year, TJ? You know the first movie of 2025 I sat down to watch?
I don't.
You don't. Oh man, it's a Marvel movie. I have to start my years off by watching a Marvel movie that many people call mid or terrible or awful. And it was
You watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
No, I watched the New Mutants, TJ.
Oh, that's a terrible movie.
I'm gonna be a defender of this movie for a hot second, and I don't know if it was tequila making me enjoy this movie more or less or not. But I remember the first time I watched this. It was in 2020. I think I just got like my first or second dose of the COVID vaccine, and I was a mess. And I laid in bed and watched this movie, and I hated it. Now this time, I was not suffering a fever, and instead, I was more just enjoying a nice tequila-ized drink. Magical. Sat down, watched this movie. The reason I did this as well is because, yes, as TJ mentioned, we've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals. I've main Cloak and Dagger. I've been reading a lot of Cloak and Dagger comics because of that. That then led me to the New Mutants because they kind of like do some things there as well. And there's some crossover. And I'm like, you know what? Let me give this New Mutants movie a try again. And I kind of liked it. They did a lot differently than like you kind of would expect in a New Mutants movie. But, you know, Anya Taylor-Joy is a great Magic, and they really did some wild things with that character. But I liked it. Is it a good movie? No. Is it overhated? I say yes.
No.
I think it's overhated.
It has one good redeeming quality, and that is Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic. But that is far longer than I ever expected to chat about New Mutants.
It's
in
fine
the
in the good year of 2025. Last year I started my year as
In
Madam
the
Web,
good year
and this
of
year I'm starting it.
2025.
And this year I'm starting it with the New Mutants.
It
If
is
Rachel
January
wasn't gonna-
14th, and there has been multiple natural disasters, and you said in the good year of
If Rachel
I got a smile.
Rachel
I
was
gotta
gonna
smile through it all.
let calling New Mutants a good movie slide with like a couple like questionable looks, but there's absolutely no way she's gonna let calling 2025 a good year get past her.
the good year of 2025.
We're only,
Rachel,
we're only
what have
what,
you been
2 weeks
watching?
in? Come on.
And how much has happened in the
I know.
Yes,
Is-
TJ, you were asking
Go
me
on.
a question.
What you been watching in your downtime? What have you been watching for fun?
Well, I rewatched Severance. My roommate was catching up on Outlander, so I tuned into that. Personally, myself, I was looking this up and then I stopped. I have watched 17 films this year. A good majority of them were all new, I believe. Yeah, 2 were rewatches. Every other movie I watched was a new film. So I've just been vibing with the cinema.
I just started my Daredevil rewatch, getting ready
I'm
for
also in the
Daredevil
middle of
Born
that
Again
too.
coming in March. I might do a whole Defenderverse rewatch, if not the whole thing, at least Defenders season 1 of Luke Cage, season 1 of Jessica Jones at bare minimum, along with all of Daredevil. But it's been I am forgetful of just how damn amazing that show is. Like the pilot episode, the first episode of Daredevil, so damn good. So incredible how it just hooks you in every possible way, gets you to know everything you need to know about the characters, gets you to fall in love with their dynamic, gets you to see Matt's craziness in his action scenes. It just is incredible how strong that first episode is. I also just completed my Mission Impossible watch through, and I had not seen all of it. I kind of got to the point where I went, oh yeah, the new Mission Impossible is coming out. I guess I'll just watch the last one before I watch this one, and then I'll watch it. And I just kind of forgot. And then another one came out, and then another one came out. And so I had only seen the first 4 Mission Impossibles before. And so I just did a full rewatch from 1. It's crazy how 1 feels like a totally different movie than the rest of the series does. I feel like 2 through 7 kind of feels like the same series, with 1 just being a totally different movie. But it was so excitingly ramping up with each movie. It's like each one is better than the last until Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I feel like that one really took a big step down for me from Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. And so I am looking forward to the final Reckoning now that I've gone through all of them. But Dead Reckoning Part 1 kind of was disappointing to me. I find it funny. I might get some heat from this because I feel like movie people really like these movies. And I did really like these movies. I thought they were awesome. I loved them. But I don't think there's like that crazy of a difference outside of like clear, way better writing and way better action than the Fast and the Furious franchise and the Mission Impossible franchise in terms of like
My
the
New
ridiculousness.
Mutants take isn't the wildest thing said on this podcast.
DJ.
And I know I'm going to get heat, but I can't help but draw the connections when they do the same ridiculous naming schemes of 1, 2, 3. Now we're switching it up. Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Dead Reckoning Part 1. There is no Part 2 because we're changing it to Final Reckoning. I can't help but draw
Your gripe
baseline
is
similarities.
that the naming system between these 2 movies
Yeah,
is
I'm
the
going to
same,
make fun
so
of it because they're both
They are
terrible.
the same.
Didn't say they're the same. I said I'm drawing similarities.
Ludacris took a car to fucking space And you're gonna tell me that those movies are in the same world as the Mission Impossible movies?
It's
Tom
literally
Cruise
when I was watching them.
legitimately threw
When I was
himself off
watching
a
them, I
mountain.
literally felt like if the Mission Impossible movies are Scream, then Fast and the Furious is Scary Movie. Like I didn't realize how spoofier versions of Mission Impossible they feel like in after watching them like in back to back. That is a reasonable take.
No. I'm taking your credits away. You're never allowed to watch another film. Ever.
Absolutely not. People are over seriousiness. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. Making Mission Impossible seem a lot more serious than it is.
No one thinks those
really
movies are that
crazy.
serious. We know they're
So
crazy.
many people think those movies are
No,
serious.
we know they're crazy.
You do, but a lot of people think they're very serious, and
I think you misunderstand why people go and see Mission Impossible, because that's to see what nonsense Tom Cruise is gonna pull off in it. Because Tom Cruise does it all.
It was pretty incredible, and I maintain that they felt like a more serious version of the same things in terms of how they progress with each movie. And I haven't actually heard a single reason that disputes that yet either. You just shook your heads. You guys never actually gave me anything against it.
You know what they say about crazy? You can't fight it. So I'm not fighting the crazy. That's crazy.
Well, that sounds a lot to me like people who want to make fun, but don't actually have anything to say against it. So we're going to move on to Skeleton Crew because both Damon and Rachel were not on their podcasting game today. So hopefully a little bit of Star Wars. I'm just going to
say again,
ramp things back
somehow. My New Mutants take is not the wildest thing.
Damon, you said New Mutants is good, and I said
I did not say it was good. I said it was overhated.
Your take
said
is
it was
a lot
overhated.
Worse.
Oh my god, they're not.
I didn't say it was good. I quite literally didn't. Roll it back. I said it is a fine movie and it's overhated.
Well, guess what, Damon? I'm moving us on to Skeleton Crew because we've already talked enough about New Mutants for today. We're not going back into it. Skeleton Crew, episode 8. I want to talk about Rachel, your thoughts on the series as a whole. Mm-hmm. When I said I thought people would get mad at it, I didn't think people would get that mad at it. Fast and the Furious love, baby. Can't wait for part 8 or whatever. Part 8 of the
11,
finale.
but continue.
No, the full part of it is that they did a part 1 after 10 movies, Rachel. What did you think of Skeleton Crew?
As a Goonies girl, I love Skeleton Crew very much because it is just Goonies, but you put them with more pirates instead of Italians in space. And I love that. And I also love these kids. Neil is my son. I've adopted him. But then Wim became my son. And now they're just all my children. I love Skeleton Crew very much. It's sweet because all of Star Wars is for children, as Freddie Prinze Jr. once famously said. But I like that the show that is literally children in Star Wars feels more like a love letter to all of the movies we loved that were from the 80s and stuff, more than a child's show in the Star Wars universe, if that makes sense.
This felt so perfectly Star Wars from start to finish of just the way they executed it. And we bring it up every time, but I'll say it again, John Watts, anytime he's writing or dealing with a project with younger talent, man, is he incredible. The chemistry these kids had and the acting skills and the way it felt like real kids as opposed to, kid actors reading lines was really, really a testament to the job that they did with this show. Damon, what did you think of episode 8 in comparison? Do you think they stuck the landing with everything that they were setting up throughout the series?
Yes and no. I think they did some of the telltale of telling and not showing when I would like to be shown some things and not told. Specifically Jod's backstory, which was kind of handled in a 3-sentence dialogue, and he did very well with it, but it would have also been pretty cool to see that, honestly, and probably would have hurt a lot more and maybe would have understood where he came from a lot more than just being told again, like in a 3-sentence dialogue. But it's a fun show. And I think the finale did what it needed to do. None of our theories came true. I mean, an absolute big fat zero of them. I didn't even see the twist and the turn that the counselor or whatever his name is ended up just being a droid. I thought we were about to like go Wizard of Oz with it and reveal that someone was inside of it all along, and it just turned out nope, it's a big droid. I still have some questions, like why for this entire time are the people still stuck in this certain time period where like Alderaan still exists? Like, why are they being kept in secret from that? I don't know. I mean, I know there are talks of like either a spinoff or this or season 2. I don't know. There's talks of like potentially continuing this world, and I hope that gets explored a little bit because I still want to know that. And I still really want to know more of just like Attin and all of like the planets around it and why they're just kind of, I mean, I get it. It's the Mint. And if people found out about this is where money was made, then yeah, they get ransacked. So I understand that. And a lot of the show is about the outside world is dangerous, but there's still good people out there no matter where you look. I like that kind of storytelling. But a little messy, but I still think they did a pretty good job in sticking the landing. The kids are great. I think Jod's character had a weird ending. Honestly, he kind of had a little bit of a weird ending. You just look out a window and I'm like, okay, what happened to him? I guess you don't know. Got arrested. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they'll explore in season 2. Who knows?
I like that because it kind of, and we'll get more to the end of it as we go. But it, to me, was the opposite of what too many Marvel movies did in early phases of just like, hey, this is a great villain. Let's kill them off at the end. And often it was time because it was a really big actor who you were paying a lot of money, and you know you're not going to be able to bring him back consistently. But this leaves the door open, you know, by not giving him a specific ending. It allows him to pop up wherever they would want him to pop up next, if they do want him to pop up somewhere. So I do like that aspect of it. Rachel, what do you think? Did they stick the landing with episode 8? I actually do have a theory of, I kind of think we got our answer to what the Mint is for.
I mean, yeah, I think it did. Every time I talk about the show, I bring up the Goonies and how much I love the Goonies, but I love that they're like surrounded by the credits, because it reminded me of when they like actually find the treasure and all get to like stay. Like, it's like those little nods meant a lot to me because it was like my two childhood loves of Star Wars and the Goonies coming together. And like, I like that the ending was kind of this happy ending of all the kids reunited with their parents and like happy and healthy, because I was really afraid that I was going to have to watch a child die.
If anything happened to KB, we were rioting in the streets.
I was like, one of these kids or these parents are dead for sure. And so I liked that no one died. And it was my hot wolf man died, but that was a couple episodes ago.
You're on the hot Wolfman train too. You and Klein. Klein has been.
Yeah. Have you seen him?
I
was on that train. Hold on. Let me see if I can find
I was just on the Reckless Rebellion podcast last week, and that was like a 10-minute talking point about Klein's thinking the Brutus is really hot and everybody else calling him ridiculous.
Hold on. I'm looking if I can find this easily. There it is. On August 11th of 2024, while I was at D23, I tweeted hard launch, and it was me and this wolfman. Look at him. That's a hottie. He's tall, probably like 6 foot.
Probably.
Look at that guy. Look at him. That's a hottie.
And that's why you got to watch us in video form, everybody. You got to check us out on YouTube, hitting that like button so you can see Rachel's beginning of her relationship with Brutus the Wolfman.
Yeah, Wolfman in theaters in like a week. I think it stuck in landing. I like it a lot. I like that there are still questions to be answered, because then that means we do need to continue the story. So then it's not like, okay, well, Attin's out there in the world, like that's it. It's like, well, no, we still don't know really why they were that closed off, if it was just like the droids rule, and that like there's a bunch of things that kind of need clarified. And I think I like that they're not fully answered.
The start of this episode I thought was really great. We get each pieces more of what I love about each individual character as well. Like, they work so great as a team, and that was actually my favorite part of the episode, is when they get back together and they're like, you do this, you do this, you do this, all right, go. And all the parents were like, what the fuck is going on? And all the kids are just absolutely locked in. But at the beginning, I like how the last episode kind of began the same way the first episode did, with Wim just doing something that a kid would do. And so when the droid is spying on him, he's like, just smashing his action figures together. And I thought it was perfect. We get Farah and Fern going off to meet the supervisor. This is where I'm finally thinking all the crazy things we've theorized. This is the one I'm most confident about. Captain Renaud is going to be the supervisor, and he's just been working the great work all the time and sitting in his gold. Nope, it is a big old droid running the whole thing. And so where does my brain go next? I say, okay, this is Captain Renaud put his brain in a droid, and so he could just
That's
live
where
his
you went?
money forever. No, that was not happening. This is live thoughts. This is live trying to figure out a way that my theory could still come true. It didn't. It absolutely didn't. And we realized that an emissary has not been there in years. But I think we got a tease enough for me to confirm in my brain that this is going to Palpatine and or First Order, Final Order preparations, because specifically this droid, they're still thinking it's like back in Alderaan, right? That's what the people have thought based on what the droids are teaching them and telling them. But this droid knew Order 66 happened. This droid was fully aware that Order 66 had happened and that the Republic views the Jedi as traitors. And so I feel very like the way I read that is that they're then under the control of somebody who still doesn't want to trust the Jedi, doesn't want if it was New Republic, and not just somebody that Palpatine or his underlings were still controlling. Then I think that that droid probably would have known that the Empire has fallen, but this was still treating it like the Empire was on top. And so I think it's still going to someone, whether that be Thrawn, Palpatine's underlings, etc., go into that group. What did you think of the opening sequence of this movie with that, or this episode with that reveal, Damon?
Yeah, no, like I said, it's not what I expected. I thought instead of going like AI brain mode, I thought we were gonna get Wizard of Oz mode, honestly, and like the guy was gonna be inside of it the whole time, like haha, and he was gonna be sitting on his money there. That didn't happen. I think there's still a chance that it's just because, and this would be kind of lame, I still think there's still a chance that this is just kind of like a forgotten planet, honestly, because if they knew that the Jedi were killed, but Alderaan is still there, there's still a time period in between that where you can still play, and they just haven't been contacted since then, right? Because like an emissary hasn't shown up since. But the whole thing just, to me, needs more explanation.
It left it, I didn't hate the way that it was left up in the air, because I thought they concluded the necessary story arcs that that this story deemed important. You know, like there was things like, what is the mint all truly, but what's behind the mint, that we speculated throughout, but at no point was the story they were telling making it seem like that was an important mystery. That was just something we were trying to figure out. And so leaving that open for a potential season 2, I do want that to be explored at some point, is, hey, this barrier's open. What had it been being used for? What's it going to be used for going forward? Is in a really interesting way to bring that story like, back up.
What happened to Captain Renaud? He got to the planet. And then what?
And then what? That's why I thought it was going to be like, I am Captain Renaud, but a droid.
So like the Wizard of Oz. Like, how the wizard crashed.
I kind of thought it was like a combination of the two, where it was like he was dead because this happened 200 years ago, and this is the droid he left to carry on his legacy, kind of thing. What did you think of the droid reveal, Rachel?
I, like Damon literally was like, oh, is this like the wizard? But it's also really funny to think about. Like, okay, we were talking about how Alderaan still exists to the people of Attin. That is like, for context, someone in upstate New York, say Buffalo, not knowing 9/11 happened. And them being like, all of a sudden the curtain is revealed and they're like, cool, I'm going to go to the World Trade Center. And everyone in modern times is like, hey, about that one. Like, it is like, it's crazy to think about these people are just out there, like, living their lives thinking Alderaan exists. And that to me is what is way more interesting about the reveals of this episode is like, oh, right. Shit. There is so much that you don't know went down. And now all of you are going to have to unpack that. Like the droid stuff was almost not as interesting to me because I was way more into like, they're going to have to learn about so much in very quick succession.
Wynn just learned, and I don't even think he had a reaction, that like all the Jedi were murdered.
Yeah, which is also not true though, because
Asterisk.
did no one tell Jod that Luke Skywalker, like that iPad? I was like, wait, hold on. Did no one inform him of what happened? Like, how does the galaxy work about passing information along?
Is there an email blast that just kind of goes out to all of these different?
What's their version of X/Blue Sky? Like, what do they use to inform everybody that things have happened?
That's a very good point because Jod was unclear, and I don't think Wim didn't trust what Jod was saying. I don't think, and then the droid basically all the Jedi are traitors, and I think he kind of had like a moment, but I think it was all just happening too fast for him to process it. He was just busy getting ready for his next time to try and wield that lightsaber. He wasn't gonna ignite it downward again. He was gonna make sure that he was ready. But when we get all of them like grouping up together, the power grid shuts down. Wim, KB, Neil, they all get together. They're like, we gotta save Fern. The parents say no, but it reminded me of what I loved from each of these characters throughout. You know, Neil is sitting in the tub as all of this happens. He's just having himself a little bath because that's I feel like that's the most Neil thing is like he's finally home. No, before you're not getting into bed until you have a bath and you get yourself all clean. Like, fair enough. That's absolutely what I see Neil doing.
The bubbles were so high, were so cute. I was like, oh, is this Neil's little brother? No, it's Neil.
No, that's Neil. No, that's Neil.
Meanwhile, Wim's running around laying on the bed.
Like, all I could think about was protect these baby Neils, like, at all costs. Please don't let anything happen to these baby Neils. And as they're assembling, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, Wim's dad is such an absolute dweeb. As they're all just like getting like organizing. My favorite part is while they're already on the speeders and they're about to go over the pass, and Wim's like, just trust KB. Because for real, if we've learned one thing over the course of this show is KB needs to be the one figuring things out, making the decisions. Damon, the squad was my favorite part of this show all the way through, and that's really what this episode did the best. I think was just bringing that all together. Of like, here's all the things they've learned. Let's watch them in action now. Their parents are seeing it for the first time. And it kind of felt like we were again for a new first time.
Yeah, in a way. Wim's dad also at the very beginning, I'm like, bro, how oblivious are you? And then he finally, he kind of locked in. Kind of like when we get Marvel Rivals teammates and we're playing, we're like, oh my God, we're on one of those teams where everyone is just god awful. And then out of nowhere,
everyone switches to their main and everything turns around.
Just locks in. And that was kind of like that moment with Wim's dad where he looks over at this, like, I kind of want to know what happened in that interaction. He's just like, hey, can I borrow this? Or they just like knock him out, throw the kid to the ground and grab his speed bike. I kind of want to know how that happened. Because could you imagine Wim's dad?
Who was that kid and why was he just sitting there on his bike? Well, how did Wim's dad get it from him? But I mean,
say please, or
we can't tell this guy. We are talking to a level 7 data analyst. So,
Dad, can you turn that on? You're talking to a level 7 data. I was like, okay.
Do you know who I am? It was such a great moment. And,
cheesy lines can go either way. That one gave me a laugh in a good way, just because of how ridiculous it was, and it was also, at the same time, very dad-like.
Yeah, very, very dad-like. Neil, falls off the speeder as he does. They get KB. Eventually, they get KB onto the ship. They're reunited with Fern. We get the classic Fern and Wim banter and story forging to Jude Law's character Jod. And he really hammered home his name of Jod in this one. I kind of, after all the names we've been called, it really seems like this is the one he's still going with. Rachel, I want to give you a chance, because I know you said you want to talk about how hot Jude Law was over the course of this podcast. Give me your Jod Nawood thoughts from beginning to end of this series. What do you think of his arc?
Great. Love a pirate. Love a hot pirate who never changed. And could never trust the man, never did. Loved every second of it. Literally, the minute I saw that guy with a helmet on, I was like, I know how Jude Law sounds. Knew it was Jude Law. And then I was like, can't wait for that to be revealed to be Jude Law. And I was correct. But just, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Every person who is attracted to men have a Jude Law phase. It's not that you watch The Holiday or Talented Mr. Ripley and you fall in love with that Jude Law. It is whatever Jude Law is currently in something. You're like, what is this man? And I love that this is now happening for the younger generation watching Skeleton Crew, that they're like, what's that guy's deal? I'm like, we're back at it. Everyone loves Jude Law. I will say in the finale, there were like moments throughout the show that I love him very much. I loved where he was like, you know what, just shoot me. When they were like, they captured him. I love the scene where they think that he's being mean to Neil. And he is like, no, all of you shut up. Like, I can't stand any of you. You're all annoying me. Because I think that's funny that he's just like, no, I don't care about any of you children. It's not me being mean to one of you. It's me being mean to literally all of you.
That felt like such a teacher snapping moment of just like, I've had enough. I've had all of you. I hate you all. Just get up. Leave me alone.
Not just the one that looks like an elephant. It's literally all of you. But I also love in this episode when the lights turn on. Damon, if you could turn on your lights, you would be demonstrating what happened in the episode. But the lights turn on when they're in the droid sanctuary. There it is. And it's so bright. And I literally went, oh, because it was like, I'm shutting my ring light off. It was like this. And you're like, yeah, Jude Law's hot. And then it was like, whoa. And it was
I know exactly what scene you're talking about, actually.
It was perfect. I was like, oh, Jude Law in light. Thank you. But yeah, so hot. I hope so many people are suddenly obsessed with Jude Law because of this. Welcome. We've all been here, and we will probably continue to be here for the rest of our lives.
This is why I wanted to make sure Damon had the proper lighting, because of the sheer handsomeness of the face. I didn't want the viewers to miss out on it. Damon, as this episode is kind of coming to its climax, we get, I kind of didn't, it looked to me like KB just landed the ship. Like, it kind of looked like she just landed and they were all like, oh no! And I was like, we're supposed to be worried now. We're supposed dang.
Yeah, there was a little poof.
Yeah, there was a
but it didn't fully go boom. And when it didn't go boom, I'm like, she's fine.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had like the same tear-like feeling. Even though I knew she wasn't going to die, I had a similar tear-like feeling of like, oh no, is KB going to be gone? But that I did when she was firing up the ship and saving the day, but it was like for opposite reasons. Like, I was so proud, and I just thought she was so cool. The way she was, our guy Chris Chipperson in chat saying KB pulled a Sully landing.
So just to keep a tally, I made a 9/11 reference, and now we have a Hudson crash reference happening on the same episode.
We never keep it PG, even PG-13 when Rachel's on. We're always taking it a turn in some direction. Usually it's like a weird sexual direction, but this one it took a dark
These are for children. But then I did just say Jude Law I would keep the lights on. is what that boiled down to. So, anywho's,
Anywho's, Damon, were at any point were you truly worried for KB's safety as this is all coming down? I thought it was a very, very exciting conclusion that admittedly I was kind of thinking and hoping they were going to do a Carson Teva and Zeb show up and they're among the X-Wing fighters that are saving the day. I was hoping for that a little bit, but
yeah.
I'm also just from a storytelling standpoint happy that they just kept it about this group the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, they kept it pretty ambiguous at the end, and we'll probably get to that. I mean, I was never worried for KB because, like I said, shit never went boom. And when ships go boom in Star Wars is when you really need to worry. We've seen plenty of ships crash and not go boom, and everyone's fine. I was more worried about, like, the kids' parents because Jod was very clearly at one point just like, I thought he was going to actually, like, lightsaber a head off, maybe a hand. That would have been fun. Off of a few of them, maybe both of the parents, maybe one of the parents. I don't know. But I was worried for them more than anything. And they scaved away, especially once when like Wim's dad like actually started like turning the power back on and Jod brought the blaster out and was like, oh, he's gone. And he just missed. And I was like, this is a kid show.
I thought Wim's dad was gonna die for parts of it. I thought he was gonna be gone, and we were gonna get
you wanted
Wim
to orphan a child.
No, I didn't want that. I didn't want Wim's dad to die. As I was watching, there were parts that I thought that it was gonna happen, and that is good writing, keeping us suspenseful on our toes, not knowing what's gonna happen. I was not cheering for his death.
You heard it here first, folks. Actual father, TJ Zarek, is said, what if people just got orphaned?
We've been friends for 3 years and you don't even know how to say my last name. So
isn't it Zwarek?
Zwarich?
Zwarich. Listen, no one has to say my last name.
Look,
Welcome to the
Leishman.
club.
Look, Leishman. We're gonna...
You said it twice, and I don't know if either one was correct.
Yeah, either one was right.
I know that I'm doing it wrong on purpose. That was the bit because I was getting.
Anyways, you wanted this kid to be orphaned.
Apparently, it was not a funny bit.
You wanted this dad to die and this kid to be alone.
I didn't want him to die, but he did do a good job of stepping up. After being dweeby the whole time, he steps up. He squeaks his way in there. He gets the power back on. He does a good job of helping protect the kids, but. Eventually, the X-Wings pile in. They save the day. All the pirates are shot. Their ships are shot down. And we don't really get to see the resolution, which is what I think makes a potential season 2 so enticing, as we know they're going to be picking it up if it happens well in the future. They're not going to try and make these teenagers seem like 10-year-olds. They're going to pick them up at whatever age those actors are at. Our own Adam Blevins had a really nice article on Collider about that, so you can check it out. But I like that it gives possibilities to do whatever the hell they want for a season 2. Mm-hmm. I think that makes it really strong. And we talked about the Jod part of it, whereas he just kind of looks. I got the sense a little bit where he was like, I made it to the treasure. This is the end. I'm going down with my ship, and I'm done. That's the vibe I kind of got at the beginning. But then he has that smirk. He has that smirk where it's like, oh, he's already got another scheme now. That's kind of my read on it. What did you think, Damon?
I have several things on this. One, the ending as a whole, the ending with Wim looking up and seeing the, it was a CR-90 Corvette, by the way, which is also known as an all-around cruiser. So there you go. Who's in that ship? No, that's up for you to decide. Yeah, there you go. That's up for you to decide who you want to be in there. It could be anyone. It could be Hera. For all we know. I was gonna say it could be Hera. We don't know. Could be.
Hondo.
Definitely not.
I didn't get my
ending. I love this movie. The ending reminded me a lot of the ending of The Last Jedi, where you see like the little kid look up and you see like some of the rebels go by and he's just like, yeah, like, inspired, right? They had that same feel and I really liked it about that. The one thing though, as Jod's watching the ship go down and I'm seeing all the X-Wings fighting, First of all, these are people who are like completely isolated on this planet, really have no idea anything going on in the outside world. They just got invaded by pirates. Their sky opens up. They see the sky for the first time, and all of a sudden, these other tinier X-wings, like these tinier jets, start flying in and shoot down the bigger thing, and they're just instantly cheering. And I'm like, I would be running if I were y'all. I would not be cheering. I'd be like, yay! I'd be like, no, we're getting invaded.
More pirates, more pirates coming to take our planet.
Like,
They
no,
don't know.
we're actually getting invaded. And then the X-wings, who are supposed to be with the New Republic, who are supposed to be so smart, just start firing on this giant pirate ship, sending it towards a highly densely populated area, and just crashing like, and we did our job here, and they fly away. I'm like, all right, New Republic.
It's that Sailor Moon meme. My job here is done. You didn't do anything. It's done. Goodbye.
If there's one thing we've learned about the New Republic from watching The Mandalorian, etc., they aren't very smart. Their management and their organization is not very intelligent. Rachel, what did you think about all the individual conclusions and then the group conclusion we got to the episode? KB has her "Did we win?" moment as we get confirmation she survives. Fern's kind of seemed a little lackluster to me. I kind of was waiting for like one more big Fern scene that we didn't get. Wim got his looking up at the stars, looking up the X-wings of like, I'm gonna do that someday. That's the vibe I got of. He was looking at those and like, that's my future. Screw this assessment. Like, I'm gonna be up there. But Fern was the one that I feel like we even got Jod's history. We didn't get the Order 66 flashback, but we got basically that's what happened. A Jedi found me, and then Order 66 happened.
I wish I saw
everybody kind of got their story end, and I felt like Fern was missing one.
Well, first of all, I thought 100%. I thought that those two little kids were gonna let themselves get pulled by the Force to Jod and then just stab him with the lightsaber. Like when he had the lightsaber pointed, I was like, these kids are committing a murder, and I was kind of there for it. Yeah, I truly thought it was just going to be like, let's go and just let this kid get murdered.
The whole episode, Fern was just sick of his shit. Like, Fern had a lightsaber to her throat, and she was just like, she was just done. She was done with God.
Which I do understand, because I did say, if you don't stop threatening people with that lightsaber and either do something with it or get rid of it, I'm going to get mad. Because every 5 seconds, he was like, I'm threatening you with my lightsaber. And I'm like, okay, enough. We get it. You have a damn lightsaber, but you're not using it. You're just threatening people with it. This is boring to me. And Fern had the same energy. She was like, all right, where's your new trick?
Do it.
And I love that for her. I do like that Fern didn't get more in the finale. Like, I liked that it went to everybody else because Fern was the one leading the charge up to this. And so I like that it went to Neil saving the day and then running away from almost getting killed, and KB getting that, which if I had a nickel for everything I loved that ended with "Did we win?" I would have 2 nickels, but weird that it happened twice within a calendar year. But happy for them. But yeah, I like this cute little ending. I think if it would have had a weightier ending, it wouldn't have felt right for this show.
I kept coming back to that as well. Like, there were so many points that I was thinking, oh, what if Luke or Ezra or Ahsoka comes up and Wim gets to meet his Jedi, you know, and he hands them the lightsaber and he meets a Jedi for the first time. But then every time I kept thinking back to, as fun as it always is to see those characters, it does not feel like this show needs that. This show hasn't been that the whole time. Why take that left turn right at the very end? Damon, any final thoughts from Skeleton Crew episode 8?
I think the series as a whole, I enjoyed a lot more than I anticipated. I knew going in that I was going to have fun with it, but I really didn't know what to expect, especially, it is a show geared towards kids. Obviously, it's a family-driven show, and when you have kid actors who are leading the charge, even when you have Jude Law there as well, that there's a lot of pressure put on them to, to act and to be good, and they were really good in the show. A part of me was always watching this show with a little voice in my head saying this was supposed to be a movie. So as I'm watching this, I'm kind of trying to be like, okay, how would this would this have been included in the movie? Would this have not have been included in the movie? My entire conclusion to that whole thing is that one episode where they went to that one not at Attin planet was kind of thrown in for the series, because looking back on it and the theories that we thought about were going to happen because of that one episode just kind of never happened. A little bit of a throwaway episode if you have one, although that was like a good episode for Neil to kind of like step up and, you know, gain his confidence in that regard. But overall, as a whole, I really liked the show. I think the kids were great. Jude Law was fantastic. And as much as I wanted to trust his character, in the end, guys, don't trust a pirate.
Don't trust a pirate. Once well said. Final question to you, Damon. Will there be a Skeleton Crew season 2?
Probably. If they can, I'll say this: if they can keep the budget down and have a, I'd say if they can keep the budget down and the series performed well, I have no idea if the series is performing well or not, then yeah, probably. I think it's a good bet. But here, that's the other thing with Star Wars right now. It's hard to predict the future because we kind of know some projects are coming out. I don't even know how many are in production right now outside of the Mandalorian movie.
Ahsoka.
Oh, and Ahsoka. Those are the two. But for the other things that were announced at Star Wars Celebration, I don't know how many of those are actually going to be going forward or not.
Rachel, final thoughts on the Skeleton Crew, and same question to you. Do you think there will be a season 2?
I think there will be a season 2, or at least they're going to let John Watts do some more Star Wars in some regard. But yeah, I love the show a lot. You said it earlier, when John Watts has a show geared towards like younger kids in something that's beloved, whether it be like Spider-Man actually feeling like a kid for once, or Star Wars actually being told from the perspective of kids. I think he just has this touch that makes it doesn't matter what age you are, you find a connection in what you're watching, because you're like, oh, this is this thing that I've loved for so long. And it really made me excited to watch Skeleton Crew every week. And not to be this person, but it was also really nice because I saw no discourse online. It was just people talking about Star Wars. And I know that's going to fuel a bunch of the gross dudes to be like, well, see, this is what we want. Shut up. That's not what I'm talking about. It was just a genuinely sweet, fun time in the Star Wars fandom for once. And I liked that a lot.
Couldn't agree more. I feel the very, very similarly. I do want to throw one more question your way, though, in terms of, predictions and theorizing. Do you think we see Jude Law's character again outside of Skeleton Crew, potentially in The Mandalorian and Grogu, something like that, since it is all timed similarly?
I don't think we'll see him in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. If they ever go forward with whatever edition of the new, the Rangers of the New Republic, if they ever go forward with that in a different regard, I could see him showing up there, like if the Rangers are investigating something and it has to do with like pirates, and they're like, well, we have someone in the brig, in our little prison area, and we go and ask him
As
questions.
Ezra calls Hondo for some help.
Oh my god!
And when he meets Hondo, Hondo's like, "Hey, we got this guy in the brig," and it's.
I do think that is a
and
big missed opportunity not having Hondo in this season. And honestly, if I could go back and rewrite anything and rewrite that one not at Attin Planet episode, I would have just made that an episode where they run into Hondo instead, get him involved.
The spa.
No, not the spa episode. The
Neil's episode.
Gotcha.
Yeah, where they have that plan. I call it the Great Divide episode, if anyone is familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, because that's literally what that episode was. And I would have made it just because, I always like a little bit of like Star Wars cameo funness. I would have made that more of like a Hondo-driven episode on how you really can't trust pirates, and Neil's the one who kind of has to step up and say, no, this guy's a bad guy. And they still think that Jod is okay because they really don't know who he is yet.
Yeah, I like that. I think that would have been a fun little addition. Rachel, what do you think? Do we see Nawood in The Mandalorian and Grogu or other Star Wars projects outside of Skeleton Crew?
Other Star Wars stuff. I don't think Mandalorian Grogu. He'll be in my Princess Leia show that has not yet been announced, all about her becoming a senator and rebuilding the galaxy. Because they're going to be like, "Ma'am, we gotta talk to you about this planet." She's gonna roll up and see Jude Law. This is my dream world where Princess Leia actually gets her own show. That's not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I like it. I like it quite a bit. I think that is definitely an area that could heavily be explored because like in canon things, there hasn't been a whole lot of Leia in that middle time. There's been a whole lot of legend stuff involving Leia in that timeline, but not a whole lot of canon stuff. And so I think that would be a really fun thing to get explored in the future as well. Make sure, even though Skeleton Crew has come to a close, you're still tuning in with us because just decided here, pre-podcast, about an hour ago, Rachel and I are going to be talking some Severance. Every week on the Agents of Fandom podcast, we have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man starting in 2 weeks. Next week, we will have probably some kind of, 2025 hype rankings, draft-ish type episode in here as well. But after that, we are right back into Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Heck, maybe we won't even have time for that draft because we got word just pre-podcast that a Daredevil Born Again trailer is going to be coming out in the morning. And so maybe we're just going to be breaking that down. We will see. But we got Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Invincible, Daredevil Born Again, and/or so many great things coming. We got Captain America Brave New World coming out this next month. We got interviews. We got giveaways. So stay tuned. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Chris in chat is saying he's excited for some Severance chat. He just finished the first season last week. That's so similar to me. Like, I didn't watch the show as it was coming out. I watched it. I just watched it about a month ago.
No, I had to wait 3 years.
Exactly. And so I'm so happy I didn't because I can't imagine having to.
No, now you guys have to wait. You don't get to watch season 2.
I gotta wait 3 years now to watch season 2.
Are you gonna make your kid wait a whole year in between Infinity War and Endgame?
Yeah. Whenever I have kids,
we even had a Captain Marvel in between at that time.
Well, that's true, but you still have to wait a whole year.
If Pushing Daisies ever comes back, that kid's waiting decades before you see the continuation of it.
Every time there's a new episode of Severance out, my brain needs to be Severance so that this version of TJ can actually.
You don't even know the lingo.
I know that it's late at night and I've been sick for a week and a half. Give me a break. This is what you're gonna get teased for the Severance show, everybody. Get ready for more. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. You can find Damon on some socials as he is in the middle of his deleting stuff, but check out the Comic Corner podcast if you want some more of Damon. You can find Rachel on socials at Rachel Leishman, as well as on a plethora of podcasts, Padre Pascal, the Fordcast, the Powell Pod, Cinema Sibs, and now on the Agents of Fandom podcast, talking some Severance as well, on Collider, on the Mary Sue, if you would like to see more of her words. Thank you to you both for a great show. Thank you for listening to my nonsense about Fast and the Furious at the beginning. And to everyone who tuned in chat, you're still both wrong. I am right. Have a great week, everyone. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.